Hey guys, good morning and welcome back to the Fuel Up Border Fuels exclusive morning talk show. I am your host, as always, Byron Smith, Director in Operations of Border Fuel Sports, and let's get into it today. Not really wanting to go very long today, a lot of stuff going on, so let's check out what we got, right? We're going to start with boxing, which is what we ended Thursday's show on. Then we're going to move to the NFL and then finish up with a little NBA playoff talk. It is the last week of the NBA. But let's start with boxing, right? We talked a lot about Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders in the main event of their bout on Saturday. Sorry, I'm going to make sure that my sound is coming through here. Perfect. On their bout on Saturday, it was the most people, the biggest audience to see an indoor boxing fight in American history. There had been two more fights that have had more people to watch an inside boxing fight, but they were both in Europe. There have been more people, like a lot more people in America to watch American boxing events, but most of those happened outside, so they don't count towards that count. Anyways, still impressive that they got, I think it was 73,000 fans in AT&T Stadium. Place was rocking. It was huge. They were loving everything. And it was in Dallas, or wherever AT&T Stadium is, Dallas. So they were loving Canelo coming out with all of the mariachi singers and all the dancers. Dude, the mariachi singer, the stream I was watching, because I don't buy these things because I'm not trying to pay $50. The stream I was watching, played his own music during the Mexican national anthem, which sucked. But the dude who was singing it, I could see him. His sombrero was this big. That was the biggest sombrero I've seen in my life. Let's talk about the actual sport, though, because, that's what you came here for. Canelo Alvarez, as you can see, knocks out Billy Joe Saunders via TKO in one of the most brutal injuries I have ever seen. So Billy Joe Saunders is actually standing a pretty good chance against Canelo Alvarez. He's mixing it up. He is forcing Canelo to be very defensive, despite the fact that in the early few rounds, Canelo landed some really good body shots. The judge cards after the match revealed that they still had Canelo winning at this point, but they'd actually given Billy Joe 2 rounds, which means in the final few rounds, if Billy Joe had done well, he might have been able to win the bout. However, it just was not meant to be. Canelo came into that 8th round so aggressive. He went right after Saunders, and then he started to get really pumped up. He started to seek Saunders' head, despite most of the fight going for these tough body shots. And then Saunders had been doing this thing all fight where whenever Canelo would go for a hook, he would duck down and try and go into his body, with the plan being, I'm going to get away from the hook, which was, I don't know why he thought the hook was Canelo's weapon, but his plan was to get away from the hook, and if he needed to, he could lean forward and push it a little more and get into a clinch, which would force the ref to break it up and keep him safe. I get the mentality, I just don't understand the execution, because if you lean down, Canelo's big weapon is a left uppercut, and that's exactly what Canelo caught him with. He ducked down, Canelo caught him square right here. No nose, no cheek, no forehead, all eye socket. So hard with a left uppercut that he has shattered part of his orbital bone. He shattered a man's orbital bone in a boxing ring. And this happened 45 seconds into the 8th round. Or 7th round. And Canelo just followed him around the rest of the round and just beat the living snot out of him with that broken orbital bone. The dude went back to his corner, and you could tell he couldn't see. His corner was ready for him to quit. And there was a moment where you go back, you could see he opened up a small cut right here during the round, but they go back to his corner in between rounds, and they're putting the cold metal on it, trying to keep it from swelling up and bleeding up, and they pull it off. It's purple, like it's supposed to be after the ice, and then you watch it reopen and just get redder and bigger, and his eye is just slowly swelling up to the point where he can't see. They call off the fight right there. It was a brutal punch. I wouldn't ever want to take that punch, and it probably will end Billy Joe Saunders' career. That's sad. I don't want to see someone as good as Billy Joe Saunders is. He's not bad, but like, to see someone's career get ended like that, man. I mean, Saunders is gonna get his payday, right? He was in a big match with 73,000 fans and millions watching at home, so I don't feel unbelievably terrible for him. But man, just Canelo, he's just so good. He's too good, honestly. And it leaves one fight for him, right? He's going to get all 4 of the major super middleweight belts. I forget the name of the 4th guy, but he is the last one left. The promoter for DAZN straight up said that's the person that we are calling him first thing Monday morning. We're gonna call him. Canelo's promoter straight up said, yes, whatever the money is, we're probably gonna get it. So yes, we're calling this guy. And then even Canelo himself called out that guy, said, yeah, I want you here. I want to fight you, and I bet he wants to fight me too. And everyone's gonna be rooting for him. An undisputed champion of that level is fantastic. And like, Canelo could fight him. They mentioned a lot that they want to fight in September. Like, that's 4 months notice. I don't know if you're going to get the opponent on that. But I fully expect it to happen in November. But Canelo can fight again tomorrow. He's a really tough dude. He stays in the gym. He looks so fit. He has great conditioning, great cardio, very comparable to Mayweather in that division, or in that aspect. I honestly think if Canelo were to want it, and if Mayweather were to want it, they could probably do Alvarez Mayweather 2 and make a lot of money. Mayweather is getting away with fighting one of the Paul brothers, and he's probably going to make a couple $100 million off that. So like, sure, he doesn't have to do this, and I doubt he wants to do it, right? Like, why take legitimate punches when you could just not? But it would be interesting to see. It'd be a really interesting bout. I doubt Mayweather could be as defensive in their second bout, and I would love to see an offensive Mayweather have to fight. Like, I don't know if he can do it. But I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time, so I've been wrong before. But let's move off of boxing into the world of the NFL, and we have to talk about something. So we talked about a lot during draft weekend, and then we talked about it the week after draft weekend, that Aaron Rodgers wanted out of Green Bay. And that was from Adam Schefter, right? I was watching the Sports Center NFL Live. I was watching it live when Adam Schefter said Aaron Rodgers is telling people inside of the Packers organization that he did not want to play for the Packers in 2021. I watched it with my own 2 eyes, right? I heard him say it. He is now backtracking his story and saying that that's not exactly what I reported. He's now coming out and saying, I didn't have a source telling me that at the specific time. What I saw was throughout the offseason, I saw a rift developing between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. He says that things continued to happen throughout the offseason that made you think that Rodgers wasn't going to play in 2021. And so I decided, this is him, he says that he decided that eventually someone was going to have to break that news. And so he decided, why not then? Adam Schefter, you broke it on the biggest news of some people's career. You broke it on the biggest day for some rookie's career. Adam Schefter decided that, you know what an appropriate day is? He's not very important on draft day, right? There's no rumors or anything happening on draft day. People just draft somebody, and then you're like, good, they got Justin Fields. Wow. No one goes to Schefter to go see what Schefter thinks. So Schefter made the day about himself by bringing up the Rodgers report, by making the Rodgers report on that day. You cannot tell me this was not a planned report or a planned assault on everyone's attention and on the media's attention to get the story on Adam Schefter, to get Adam Schefter attention, and to get his story in front of more eyes. It's despicable, it's disgusting, and I wouldn't be surprised if the ESPN executives had more to do with it than Schefter did. That's reality. That's reality. Because ESPN doesn't get as many views on the draft anymore. ABC does. ABC or NBC, whichever one is the other ESPN affiliate during the draft. The guys who do college game day, they get more views on draft day than ESPN does. So ESPN needed views. They need views. They are a dying network, right? We can sit here all day and speculate about what they do and why they do it. They are a dying network. Their viewership is dying off. Most days, there are 50 other channels that got more views. So ESPN decided to push Schefter in the direction, this is speculation, to clarify, this is some speculation here. I speculate that the ESPN executives pushed Adam Schefter to put that story out at the time that he did because ESPN needed attention, and it's disgusting, and it is a huge red flag and a huge dirty smear on sports journalism. Adam Schefter should, he is so close with NFL execs and with the NFL itself. The NFL should take action with how disgusting this was. Right? It was an outright lie. Since then, yes, we've kind of learned that the truth was Aaron Rodgers kind of didn't want out, or kind of did want out of the Packers. He kind of still does. But he is still working with the Packers. Right? When Ian Rappaport reported that Aaron Rodgers could potentially sign an extension and that could fix the rift, Adam Schefter said, no, the rift is too big. The extension talks are already over. Turns out they're not already over. They're just really starting to begin. The Packers are not nearly as far along on this Aaron Rodgers needs to go situation as Schefter implied. So, everything we've been talking about, everything we've been reporting for the last week could all just be bunk because Schefter needed some views for ESPN. It's gross. It makes me angry. I believe Adam Schefter should be reprimanded by the NFL. He should have his access to team facilities or to NFL events taken away for a little bit. I would love to see him not be able to be involved with the schedule release, which happens on Wednesday this week. It is worth noting, we talked about it on Go Runner Route this week. That episode comes out at 11 in 2 hours. Make sure to go check it out. Corey Dye brought up that important for a lot of people is going to be watching the scheduled release day on Wednesday, on the 12th, because depending on what the NFL does with Green Bay games will tell you whether or not the NFL thinks that Aaron Rodgers plays in 2021 for the Packers. He did say off camera to an NBC producer at the Kentucky Derby that he supposedly pretty much accepted that he isn't playing for the Packers in 2021. That's huge. He did tell Rich Eisen that he was fine with going to play in the AFC West because he wanted to make Patrick Mahomes a wild card quarterback as often as he could. These are things, unless these other people are lying, right? These things are true, and they just kind of happen to make Adam Schefter a little less guilty. But it doesn't make Adam Schefter any less or it doesn't make what Adam Schefter did any less gross. But that's all I got to say on the matter. I hope there's actual repercussions for this. The reality is there isn't going to be because he has a name. But let's go to the NBA. It is the final week of NBA regular season action. We'll jump right into the play-in games next week and then actual playoffs after that. This is pretty much how it's going to look. It's not going to change much in these quadrants here. It could a little bit change here in the West. The Spurs sitting on the margin. They've been playing a lot of overtime games, right? You want to have a successful NBA season. You can't play 5 overtime games in a row, right? And that's what the Spurs have been doing. They can't win games in OT or in regular time, and they've barely won games in OT, right? They're under 500. So. But the team most people have their eyes on are right here. The Lakers at 7. They could technically move down to 8, but they're not going to. They're going to sit there at 7. Huge. Huge. They're going to have to play a play-in game. They're still hurt. I don't know if LeBron is back. Anthony Davis is back, but he's obviously injured playing. It's huge for them. The defending NBA champions are going to be the 7 seed and have to play play-in games. Are they going to win? Probably, right? By the looks of it, they're going to play the Spurs. They just got to beat them once. In 2 games. They have to beat them once in 2 games. If the Spurs beat the Lakers, I would honestly be really concerned about whether or not LeBron is there next year. Right? Like, that's some concerning stuff. Here in the middle, actually, here's a really good matchup that I really love. The Warriors are going to make the playoffs, which is a huge, at least they're going to make the play-ins. Huge deal, right? I've talked about a million times. I love what Steph Curry is doing this year. I love what the Warriors are doing this year, despite losing Klay Thompson. They're going to get to play the Memphis Grizzlies, who I also love. Ja Morant is fantastic. I would love to watch that play-in game between the Warriors and the Grizzlies. I'm hoping that's the matchup we get next week. It would be a great game, great matchup. Eastern side, not a lot we've talked about, not much has changed here. The Wizards barely squeaking into the playoffs is actually a huge deal. The Bulls barely missing the playoffs is huge for them. They're a very young team that has a lot of potential. So for them to sit there and be like, okay, we were 2 games away from a play-in game. Let's regroup. Let's draft well. And let's work this offseason to get a star in the building. Specifically, they should be looking Chris Paul's way. See if he's going to part with the Suns. See if the Suns will part with him. And see if they can't maybe put something together with their young talent. It'd be interesting. The Pacers are a really interesting 10 seed. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. They're like the habitual, or like the stereotypical 8 seed. Like, oh yeah, we made it, but barely. Washington Wizards, like I said, kind of surprising that they made it. They had a really rough season. I don't actually think they're going to win a play-in game. So, whatever. Charlotte Hornets, super young. The fact that they don't have LaMelo Ball, I don't know if LaMelo Ball is still out. Hold on. We're going to find out in real time. What was their most recent game? Pelicans. Something just clicked in my ear, which is weird. Oh, I guess LaMelo is back, played 31 minutes. Fantastic. So they have LaMelo Ball. They kind of stand a chance, especially against the Wizards. But then they're looking at the 76ers and Joel Embiid, and no, you don't make it past them. Boston Celtics, another slightly young team. The problem is they're one of those mediocre young team that is like, yep, we have all this talent. And they don't plan on doing anything with it. They're going to beat the Pacers. They're not going to beat the Nets. From here, if I had to give you my breakdown of who I think the finals teams are, I would actually say not the Lakers. They're going to lose a lot of that West Coast privilege with traveling, being a 7 seed or maybe even an 8 seed, but definitely a 7 seed. They're going to have to go to Utah or go to Phoenix in the first round, which actually I don't think is a big problem from them. That's not too bad. I'm looking here, if they potentially have to play the Mavericks, you're going to have to go to Dallas. That's huge. And actually, like, it's a big deal that they might have to travel to Texas to go play the Spurs next week. Or nope, it would be a play-in game. The Spurs would travel to them. That kind of plays in their advantage. Their schedule kind of plays into their advantage here in the playoffs a little bit. They don't have to go very far. So maybe that works out. However, here on the East side, here's what we're seeing a lot of. Miami and the Bucks. Miami and the Bucks. That's a huge travel distance. That's huge. right? That's Green Bay. That's Wisconsin, up towards the Great Lakes, traveling all the way. I'm doing this for you. It would be over here for me. I'm doing all the way to Miami, Florida. That is a huge travel. And like, yeah, the like modern basketball players are good at traveling. Like that's that's big. Any overtime games are going to favor Miami. Right? They really are. Um Especially cuz it's also Miami in the summer, which is hot. But also then like look, New York and Miami is huge. New York and Atlanta is pretty distant. Atlanta, Milwaukee's distant. Atlanta, Brooklyn's distant. Um like the closest matchup you're gonna get is like Atlanta, Miami, New York and Brooklyn, of course. Philly and Brooklyn isn't that bad. Philly and New York isn't that bad. Philly, Boston isn't New York. Boston, New York isn't bad. Boston, Brooklyn isn't bad. Boston, Charlotte's actually I think is technically the shortest. I think that's technically shorter than Miami, Atlanta. But like there's a lot of travel in the East, which I think is really interesting. What are my final predictions? I said I was going to give you teams that I thought were going to make it to the finals. I have been a homer for the Suns all year. I love what the Suns do. I love Devin Booker. I would love to see them make the finals. I don't think it's in the stars right now. Because they're likely matching up against the Lakers early, which I think they could beat the Lakers. They could beat the Lakers in the first series. But then you're probably facing the Clippers. And man, like you have to beat two really good teams from LA. And then you get to play the Jazz. Or the Nuggets. Or the Mavericks. It's unlikely. It's really unlikely. As much as I would like to see the Suns go there, I think my favorite team to go there is the Nuggets. Like I know the Jazz are sitting right there on top with that 15-18 season, unbelievable. But the Nuggets are really good. Their offense starts and begins with Nikola Jokic being huge and really athletic despite being huge. So I like the Nuggets out of the West. Out of the East, you end up with this weird battle mentally where you're like, okay, do I want the consistency? Do I want the 76ers who have been consistently pretty all right all season, or do I want the pure potential, which is the Nets, right? KD, Kyrie, and James Harden are like, if they can all three get on the court together, which I know, asking a lot, they could be unbelievable together. I'd say for safety's sake, I like consistency. I like Joel Embiid going in every game and having a really good game. I like the Sixers, which would give me Nuggets, Sixers. Ooh, that's a great matchup. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic going back and forth all game. It's going to be fantastic. I think that comes down to a lot of it's going to come down to your guards and whether or not they can shoot well, right? Because they can't go to the paint, big man sitting there. And I think the Nuggets probably have better shooting guards. And so I would take the Nuggets to win a series, but it would be a 7-game series. That's a 7-game series all day long. I like the Nuggets in 7 against the Sixers in the finals, but I'm stupid, so vote with me as your discretion. What's my bop of the day? Thank you for asking. It is Dunk Contest Magic Bird by Andy Mineo and Words Played. There's now an official bop of the day playlist here on Spotify. I will post it on my Twitter every time I add a bop of the day. I'm going to add it onto this playlist. If I forgot one, sorry. I'll try to not do that. But this is currently where it's at right now, I believe. I don't think I forgot one. And we'll continue to update it as I add new stuff. But until Thursday at 9 a.m. Central Time, that's important. I've been Byron. You can catch me on Twitter at Byron Borf Smith. I just yell about things all the time, so there's that. I'm probably going to be talking about Resident Evil 8 later on Twitter. It's a great game. You can also read some of my stuff here at borderfuelsports.com. I'm actually working on an article about the Schefter situation. Put it more in depth. put it through a more of a professionalism lens. That way, it isn't just me yelling and being angry. And anything else you want to see, go to check out Border Fuel on Twitter at Border Fuel HQ. You can also find them on Instagram under the same username. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, give me a comment, tell me what you want me to talk about Thursday besides UFC 263. I know. And we'll get after it. Until then, you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.